So, good morning everyone. So, this morning I'm going to discuss about chapter 9, which was all about improving a classroom based assessment tests. And here is the intended learning outcome for this lesson. So, first is acquire procedure for improving a classroom based assessment tests. So, according to Popham or James Popham 2011, he suggested two approaches. First is the judgmental approach, second is the empirical approach. So, the judgmental item improvement. So, this approach basically makes use of human judgment in reviewing the items. So, the judges here are the teachers themselves who knows exactly what the test is for, the instructional outcomes to be assessed, and the items, the level of difficulty that was appropriate for his or her class or to the students or sa mga learners. So, teacher's own review. It is always advisable for teachers to take a second look at the assessment tool that she or he has devised for a specific purpose. So the teacher's own review. So teachers must have to review this is to presume perfection right after its construction. It is also a tool for identifying the strengths and areas that needed to be improved and setting goals for professional development. Next is the 5 suggestions given by Popham 2011, page 253 for the teachers to follow and exercising judgment. First is the adherence to item-specific guidelines and general item writing commandments. So, the preceding chapter has provided specific guidelines in writing various forms of objective and non-objective types of responses or any types of responses. So, for measuring the lower level thinking skills and higher level of thinking skills. These guidelines should be used by the teachers to check how good the items have been planned or written particularly. This is very crucial for creating an effective and fair assessment to ensure the clarity and accuracy and also the relevance of the test items leading to more meaningful score-based interferences and improve the learning outcomes. Number 2 is the contribution and score-based interferences. So the contribution to score-based interferences is about the teacher examines if the expected scores generated by the test can contribute the making valid interference about the learners. So number three, accuracy of the content. So accuracy of the content or the information inside are very important. Is it reliable ba? Is it valid ba? So accuracy of the content, this refers to the reliability of the information presented in a piece of content. The review should especially be considered when tests have been developed after a certain period of time. So the accuracy of the content is very important. Number 4, absence of content gaps. So the absence of the content gaps, this is about the review of the criterion is useful in strengthening the score-based interference capability of the tests. If the content tool misses out on important content now prescribed by a new curriculum standard, the score will likely not give an accurate description of what is expected to be assessed. Kumbaga, yung content gaps is napakalayo dun sa bagong standards. So, that is why the teachers always ensure that the assessment tool matches what currently required to be learned or what students need to be learned. Number 5 is fairness. So, very important inside the classroom. So, fairness. The discussion on item writing guideline always give warning on unintentionally favoring the uninformed students obtain higher scores. So fairness ensures that all students have an equal opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge, and skills regardless of background and other irrelevant factors despite of how rich or how poor. Kung baga, ganon. So sometimes unfairness can happen due to advantage received by a particular group of students. For example, that kanang seated in front and those coming from a particular socio-economic level. So, peer review. During this teacher-led or tried sessions, those teaching in the same subject area can openly review together the classroom test and tasks they have devised against some conceptual criteria. So the peer review or a learning strategy, peer review is a type of learning strategy by which students assess work by their peers or with their classmates, and for the teachers work with their colleagues and provide feedback to each other based on the quality of their work. And there are schools that encourage peer or collegial review of assessments. Time is provided for this activity as it has almost always bring good results for improving a test. So, the suggestions given by test experts can actually be used collegially as basis for a review checklist. Number 1, do the items follow the specific and general guidelines in writing items, such as being aligned to instructional objectives, so the objectives are very important. For example, and the lesson plans or objectives is our goal at the end of the discussion. So, making the problem clear and ambiguous for students para madili nila maintindihan. The next is providing plausible options, avoiding unintentional clues. Are the items free from having only one correct answer? For example, in a multiple choice, the letter B. Are the items free from inaccurate content like such as factual errors and mga ambiguous words? Then C. Are the items free from obsolete content? Content that are kanang not relevant na siya or aligned with the topic. Then letter D. Are the test instructions clearly written for students to follow? So test instruction should be clear and easy to understand. E is the level of difficulty of the test appropriate to level of learners. So the level of difficulty should be applicable for the level of the learners. Is the test fair to all kind of students? So this is very important also for students to avoid any misconception. The next is student review. So the judgment is based on students' experience in taking the test, their expressions and reactions during the testing event. So student review is the engagement of students in reviewing the items has become a laudable practice for improving a classroom tests. So the process can be efficiently carried out through the use of review questionnaire. And another technique also for eliciting student judgment for item improvement is by going over the test before the results are shown. So mostly students enjoy this activity since they can get feedback before they can get their answers or what they have written on their papers. So COFAM 2011 again illustrate a sample questionnaire shown in table 9.1. It is better to conduct the review according to him, it is better to conduct the review activity a day after taking the test so the students will remember the experience when they see a blank copy of the tests. So this is table 9.1, item improvement questionnaire for students. So number 1, if any of the items seemed confusing, which ones were they? Number 2, did any items have more than one correct answer? If so, which ones were they? So 3, did any items have no correct answer? If so, which ones? 4, were there words in any items that confused you? If so, which ones? Number 5, were the directions for this test or for particular subsections unclear? If so, which ones? So these 5 questions are example of item improvement questionnaire for the students. So next is the empirically based procedure. So item improvement using empirically based methods is aimed at improving the quality of an item using students' responses to the test. Example is questionnaire. An item is considered good with its quality indices, either difficulty index and discrimination index. So empirically based procedure, test developers refer to this technical process as item analysis, as it utilizes data obtained separately for each item. So that was the empirically based procedure. Empirically based procedure also is a method of investigation that relies on observable evidences and systematic observation to draw conclusions and develop knowledge. It involves gathering data through direct experiences, experiments, and observation. The next is the norm reference test. The norm reference test is these two indices are related since the level of difficulty of an item contributes to its discriminability. Discriminability. So norm reference test compares an individual's performance to a larger representative group called the norm group. Its purpose is to rank individuals and show where they stand relative to their peers. However, an extremely difficult item which can be answered correctly by more than 85% of the student, or an extremely difficult item that which can only be answered correctly by 15%, is not expected to perform well as a discriminator. So 85% is kanang not extremely difficult. The next is the difficulty index. So the difficulty index, however, takes a different meaning when used in the content of criterion reference interpretation for testing for mastery. Particularly for objective tests, the responses are binary, or binary is there are only two responses. For example, kanang mga yes or no nga types of assessment, or true or false types of assessment. Either right or wrong translated into numerical figures as 1 or 0 for obtaining nominal data like frequency, percentage, and a proportion. So useful data in the form of A, total number of students answering the item or the T symbol. B, total number of students answering the item right, or R. So the difficulty index. An item's difficulty index is obtained by calculating the P, or the value, which is the proportion of students answering the item correctly. Difficulty index also is used as a measure in educational testing that represents the proportion of students who answered a test item correctly from 0 to 1. That's the difficulty index. So here is the kanang, like when we say, we can say it for as a formula. So P equals R over T, where P is the difficulty index, or the value. R is the total number of students answering the item right. T, total number of students answering the item. So here's are the two illustrative samples. First is the item 1. So there were 45 students in class who responded to item 1, and 30 answered it correctly. So the P, or the value. So 30 who number of students answered the item right, and 45 total number of students. So the 30 divided by 45 is equals 0.67. Therefore, 60% got the item right, while 33% have missed it. So here is another example. In the same class, only 10 responded correctly in item number 2. So P equals, or the value P equals 10 divided by 45 is equals to 0.22%. So item 2 has a p-value of 22%. Out of 45, only 10 or 22% got the item right, while 35% or 78% missed it. So, normative reference test and the criterion reference test. So, according to, in the normative reference test, between the two items, item 2 appeared to be much more difficult since less than part of the class was able to respond it correctly or to answer the items correctly. So, here's a criterion reference test. The class shows much better performance in item 1 than in item number 2. So the p-value ranges from 0.0 to 1.0, which indicates from extremely very difficult as no one got it correctly to extremely very easy as everyone got it correct. For binary choice items, like I said, the binary choice items types of assessment that has only two choices. There is a 50% probability of getting the item correct since there are only two options. So for multiple choice, it has only 25% of kanang to answer to get the correct answer since it has more options. So this is an advantage of using multiple choice questions over binary choice items. So the probability of getting a high score chance is reduced. And that was all for my part. Thank you everyone for listening.